Knock on the Saints door. Quarterback sneak by Tom Brady to the 43-year-old score. He did. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Now spiked that ball, Tom Brady. Who says I'm 43? He runs right up the gut and scores 6. 7. Handoff, run the ball. Fournette slashes away to the 40, to the 35, to the 30, to the 30, 25, to the 20. Fournette to the 10, 5, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Run the ball, Leonard Fournette. Wow, what a blast up the gut, found daylight, and outran everybody. Fire the cannons, get them going. Bucs win. Bucs win, Bucs win. Fire them cannons.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Swords Up podcast. We're going to be talking about our 19-20 loss away from home on Thursday Night Football to the Chicago Bears. You know, this was a really back and forth game, and I feel like we really should not have lost this game, considering that we pretty much had control of this game throughout. But I'm going to be talking about key players from the game and the stats, as well as, the key factors of why we lost this game. So first of all, let's start out with the injuries. Keyshawn Vaughn left the game at the end of the first half with a chest injury. That was off the Kyle Fuller forced fumble play. He caught the ball, took a big hit from Kyle Fuller, which led to a forced fumble. The Bears recovered with really good field position, but I'll get to that play a little bit later. But Keyshawn Vaughn, as a result of that play, left with a chest injury. So next week, his status is going to be unknown. But the really big one is probably even bigger than the O.J. Howard loss we had last week, and that was the Vita Vea injury, in which he sustained a broken ankle. It was pretty nasty. It looks like he got wheeled up on by somebody, and his ankle just got completely crushed under the weight of the players tumbling onto him, and he had to be carted off the field. His injury is going to be season-ending, just like OJ's, and that is a huge loss for this defense, as Vita Vea has really had a really good start to the season, and once again, the Buccaneers defense is number one in rushing, as they were last season. But moving into the stats for this game, on the Bears side of things, nothing really impressive offensively. Nick Foles, like I mentioned in the preview video, if he plays at least competent quarterback play, the Bears are going to have a decent chance to stay in this game with the help of their defense, and he played pretty decently. In the first half, wasn't so great. Third quarter, not so much either, but the fourth quarter, he really turned it on and won the game for them in the fourth quarter. He had 30 completions on 42 attempts, 243 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and that 1 interception was to Carlton Davis. And I don't necessarily think it was Foles' fault. I think Allen Robinson kind of made it easy for Carlton to pick it off, as it kind of bounced off his hand and knee kind of in that area, and Carlton Davis was just there to grab the ball for an easy pick. So I really don't think that interception was necessarily his fault. On the ground, not too much going for the Bears. David Montgomery, 10 carries, 29 yards, 1 touchdown, followed by Cordero Patterson, 3 carries for 7 yards. The leading receiver was Allen Robinson, 10 catches for 90 yards, followed by Cordero Patterson, 3 catches for 38 yards, and Jimmy Graham had 3 catches for 33 yards, and the 1 touchdown pass from Nick Foles. Defensively, Danny Trevathan was the leading tackler with 8 tackles, followed by Roquan Smith with 7. He also had a tackle for a loss. Buster Skrine recorded a tackle for a loss. Khalil Mack had an excellent game, 2 sacks in this one. Brent Urban and James Vaughters also recorded tackles for a loss. And then Danny Trevathan, Akeem Hicks, Khalil Mack, and DeAndre Houston Carson each recorded a pass defended, and Roquan Smith had 2 passes defended. And along with 6 tackles, Kyle Fuller also had that key forced fumble, which really turned around the game for the Bears. On the Buccaneers side of things, statistically, Tom Brady was okay. Not great, though. He had 25 completions for 41 attempts, 253 yards, 1 touchdown, and no picks. And I'll also get to later in the video, however, he did really make a very costly mistake. Ronald Jones was the leading rusher in this one, 17 carries for 106 yards. And Tyler Johnson was the leading receiver, 4 catches for 61 yards. Mike Evans had the touchdown catch from Tom Brady. He had 5 catches for 41 yards. Defensively, Carlton Davis had the pick. He also had 2 passes defended and 7 tackles, so he was the leading tackler in this one, followed by Sean Murphy-Bunting with 6 tackles. Antoine Winfield also had 5 tackles. Jason Pierre-Paul had 4 tackles and a sack. William Golston had a sack and a tackle for a loss. Jordan Whitehead had 6 tackles and a tackle for a loss. Vita Vea had a sack in this one and a tackle for a loss. As I mentioned earlier, losing him is going to be a really big blow to the team. Ndamukong Suh and Antoine Winfield both had a pass defended, and Jamel Dean had 4 passes defended. So now we looked in the stats in this one. If I'm going to highlight a player of the game here, I'd probably highlight Ronald Jones, since he had another 100-yard rushing game, and he was really impressive with the absence of LaShawn McCoy and Leonard Fournette obviously being doubtful heading into this game. He did play, but really didn't see any production at all. And I don't even think he was on the field at all. So he was only activated for emergency purposes. Like I mentioned earlier, Ronald Jones had 17 carries, 406 yards. He averaged 6.2 yards per carry, which is excellent, and had 3 catches for 19 yards. So overall, an impressive day from Ronald Jones, and I'd look to see him keep it up as Leonard Fournette recovers from injury and makes his way back onto the field. Ronald Jones should really keep his grip on the number 1 running back job. Now, just looking at the key factors of why we lost this game, and there are plenty of key factors considering how we were really in control of this game, and we never should have lost this one, but I'm going to be highlighting the most important ones. Obviously, what really turned around the game for the Bears was that Kyle Fuller forced fumble. It occurred at the end of the first half. The Bears had just scored a touchdown. We got the ball back, and Keyshawn Vaughn caught a little check down from Tom Brady, and then ran straight to Kyle Fuller, who made a great play, forced the ball out. It was under review. I believe it was originally called an incomplete pass, but then they overturned it, and the Bears got the ball, which then led to them getting their second touchdown inside of the 2-minute warning, and that put them up at half by 1 point. So yeah, obviously that play was a real game changer. But looking at the miscues, we had one drive in the third quarter, which was penalty after penalty after penalty, just nonstop false starts and holdings, and disciplinary issues also occurred in this game. Ryan Jensen had a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. He was getting into it with a couple of Bears players, and he ended up sticking his helmet into one of their faces. So that's an obvious 15-yard penalty call. And like I mentioned in last week's game, I'm not surprised to see Ryan Jensen get into those kind of situations, but he really needs to make sure he doesn't get a penalty next time. Usually doesn't, but this was one of those outliers, and just making sure we don't get caught up in situations which could cause really dumb penalties like what happened there. And then the really big one, the one that everyone's memeing about, is Tom Brady forgetting that it was 4th down. Now, Bruce Arians came out after the game and said, oh, Tom Brady definitely knew that it was 4th down, but that really makes me think he's lying, and I really question why Tom Brady would hold up the 4 fingers, because if you truly thought that 4th down was 3rd down at the end of the game, I'm not thinking that he throws the ball really far down the field like he did. He threw the ball some like 20 yards down the field when that was definitely not the distance we had to pick up to get a 1st down on that 4th down play. And if we had just picked up the 1st down with an easy check down to Keyshawn Vaughn, we still would have had a good 20 seconds or so to drive the ball into field goal range. So we really had a big chance to kick the game-winning field goal in this one. But, just mental lapses really just killed us in this one. And we definitely got to get back to work on that one. And that's just really surprising to see from somebody like Tom Brady. You don't expect that kind of mental mistake. But back to work this week in practice, and it's a really costly one, and we got to work back from this one. But that's about it for this analysis for this week's game. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Meme me all you want about Tom Brady, but it's just an odd one to see from him. A player of his intelligence, that's what makes it so surprising, this kind of mistake. But yeah, I think he will definitely rebound from this one, and team's going to come back strong, and I think we'll put up a solid one next week against the Packers, but look out for that preview video, and thank you guys for watching this one, as always, and go Bucs!